Alright guys, thought I'd do a, not a quick video, just a video. I'm having some beer on the balcony because my last day of vacation. I took 3 weeks back to back, simply because I could do with a bit of space, bit of thinking space, bit of chilling out space. Obviously we went to Madrid, but now I'm back home. The good thing is, here, you might be able to see over here, it's that little shop on the corner with the blue umbrella, little mini supermarket there, which I get some cheap beer from. This is, what's this called? The Brow. I think this is like a beer from Lidl or something, isn't it? So I'm going to start reading the facts. One of the things I do try to do now is when drinking beer, I try and look at beer that's got malt and hops rather than chemicals. I find it easier to digest. I mean, let me know your thoughts on that. But I'm not drinking anywhere near as much as I used to. It's just that I'm on holiday mode at the minute. I've come out of the aircon, sitting on the balcony. A little bit of a breeze. It's over 30 degrees and just chillaxing. But I thought I'd talk about some of the stuff that's been out there the last few weeks. There's a weird thing here, not far from where I live, where a woman ran over a pushchair, and it's lucky the parents had the kids in their arms. What's interesting is the comments, and that's one of the things I'll say, guys. When you see stuff online, go through the comments, because you'll see thoughts in there from different angles, and you get a bigger perspective. And sometimes you think, I would have said something stupid, because YouTube did this before, where I think it was Kento telling me years ago, where it would speak back to you with the comments, but people didn't like hearing their own comments, which says a lot. But anyway, so there was some provocation, a couple of roundabouts before. I don't know what's been going on with the person, but obviously everybody on the internet does, because they all start arguing and throwing out things. It's like, oh, the guy shouldn't have been following him, and all this, and you go, hang on. If you know the area, that's the main road. He would have been going down the main road, because it's all caught on his dash cam. My personal view is 2 roundabouts earlier, she overtook on the wrong side of the road, coming out of an area that's predominantly, it's not pedestrianised, but it's a heavy public area, because it's all the sports complexes. You've got the football pitches, you've got the sports centre, big swimming pool, market areas normally on the right, so it's not an area you speed in, but let's just put it that way. And there's a lot of pedestrian crossings. Now me being me, I generally drive slow in those areas anyway, because if you've driven in Spain, you will know people don't know what an indicator is. They think it's run out of blinker fluid, I'm sure. So you always assume somebody's going to do something they shouldn't be doing. What you don't do is overtake somebody in a Range Rover on the wrong side of the road, come up to a roundabout, get into a provocation at the next roundabout, jump out of the car, give them the finger, jump in the car, and nearly run a child over, and get it all caught on dash cam. So my personal view is just chill out when driving. My view, I'm a lot more relaxed these days than I used to be. Although I'm thinking back to Madrid. Madrid was more of me arguing with the sat-nav, getting confused. Because in Madrid, you'll have roads do this and go under another road. So the sat-nav obviously gets confused on where the road is, because it's got roads running like parallel with a dual track, So this is like a slow off-road that runs full length, and then you're on a dual track, but then there's another road that goes underneath it, and another one going over, and one over. The sat-nav just loses it. So you're sitting there going, having a bit of a fit with the thing, because you're in a city that's not your city, so you're not familiar where you're going or whatever. But once you realise, doesn't matter. It takes me an extra hour. It takes me an extra hour. I think back to the days like when we went to Paris, because we drove down from, well, when we moved here, I drove from Worcester to Calais, Calais to Dover to Calais with a ferry, Calais to Paris, got on a flight to the Philippines, picked the family up, took from Charles de Gaulle Airport down to, well, we did a little bit of a tour because we did Paris and Versailles, and then we drove down to Barcelona, and then from Barcelona I drove down here. And that was the good old days where the sat-navs used to go flat because they couldn't charge enough off the car. But you get used to this stuff over time. But I did find Madrid was a little bit frustrating because the car just didn't seem to have a clue. But hey ho, we can't have everything. But my point being is, you slow down, realise not to rush, don't take any urgency with anything. Even when something goes wrong, my mentality's changed over the last few years. Before I'd be rushing around trying to make the time up. Now I'm just like, don't care. Don't care. What happens, happens. I know some people may say mañana, mañana, but it's not tomorrow, tomorrow. It's just a case of some stuff is out of your control. Like when we were going to Madrid, I come out the house 8 o'clock in the morning, went to the bottom of the street, got my keys, and I seen the vans. I'm thinking, why is all the vans there? And it's like, it's market day. Car's not here anymore. It's been towed all the way down to the town. Neighbour run us down. Quick €100 later, got the car back. Still on track. Lost about 40 minutes. Picked it back up, but at the same time, wasn't rushing. Wasn't in a rush. Why? Because I wasn't going to the event that day. I booked the day earlier, so that if we did have any problems, we weren't in a rush. Let's spend a bit of family time, do some stuff at the hotel, maybe go to a not a resort, a shopping mall, just chill out. Same on the way back. There's no urgency. That's why I booked 3 weeks. So like this week, I've spent most of the time, I think, I know I have just been chilling around the house, not doing a lot. Been fixing the water heater here, which I've got to admit, it's a pain in the backside. I've never had joints leak so much. I mean, I used to do this for a living, and I find some of the stuff here is not the best. Not the best. But I've pretty much fixed it now, so starting to put stuff back, so I'm getting my office back, because all the guitars and stuff were in my office, which meant I couldn't use the office, although Ubi still managed to squeeze in to get to the computer. But now, put the guitars up on the wall, told me to sort his keyboard out, I can start moving everything that way, start tidying things up. But anyway, back on target. Yeah, so that incident, it was interesting seeing the comments, because some people's, the first thing is, it shouldn't be recording in dash cam, it's illegal in Spain. They don't understand the laws, don't understand the terms relating to it. And I'm not going to get into it in too much detail, but in that instance, yes, recording it is fine. Sharing it on social media before it goes to court, I would say not so fine. But I'm not their lawyer, so it's nothing to do with me. What else have we had? Oh, we've had a pensioner that was attacked by, I can't say allegedly, because I believe they are all Moroccans, for no reason. Because as he said, he had his watch on him, his watch wasn't stolen. They one beat him and one filmed it, I believe, which has led to a bit of a mini rebellion from where he is. But the thing with that is, the people have got very frustrated by them. People call them the far right, because this is a bit like in the UK where they had the Southport thing where everyone was far right. Yeah, there is no. This may shock people. There is no membership club for far right. In fact, I believe the Southport, the majority of people that were arrested, etc., all lived in that area, which meant they weren't bussed in, they weren't anything else. They lived there. They weren't far right. They were just locals about what had occurred there. Same seems to be going on in Spain, related to where this guy lives. But they've been booing and hissing and, you know, drowning out the mainstream media to get rid of them. I've got to admit, I'm with people on that. Don't matter what country it is these days, I'm finding that these people suppress people's speech. So, to hell with them. What gives them the right to sit there and control a narrative and decide what everybody else is talking about and who should be allowed to speak and what version should be allowed to hell with them. But yeah, they drowned them out. They'll blame it on far right, but there is no far right. Not in the way that the context that these people are pushing out anyway. Then obviously we just had a event in the UK relating to some guy's been in the UK 8 days that was trying to do some kid stuff to some teenage girls or something. That's all kicked off in another in Epping, I think it is. And I'll be the same. Oh, it's all far out. It's people that live there. I think you're getting confused with the way Antifa operate. Antifa seems to be well funded. I wouldn't be surprised if it's out of US aid. They all seem to have nice, organised posters and signage, etc., where you find the other people may have no signage at all, or they put it together with a tin of paint and a piece of plywood that they found. Completely different. One's genuine and one's on the payroll. But it does show that the signs of the times are changing, because there's two sides of it. Firstly, it does seem that there's a lot of political change in the sense of what's real is becoming more and more obvious that it's obscured. Also seeing that people are being suppressed for being genuine. Because my view is, I don't mind people. Oh, there's a bird. Bird's just seen me. He knows I've got some food for him. I'll get some food in a second. People know that. Lost my chain of thought. People know when people are genuine, but at the same time, people are beginning to be suppressed more and more, and it's becoming more and more obvious. But I don't know what the end game is at the minute. It's a very confusing scenario, because people keep talking from a left and right narrative, if that's the only perspectives. The reality is, they're on the extremes on both sides. Their lens is very narrow. It's the bits in the middle that are the important bits, and those are the bits that are often obscured. I remember one of my classmates recently, I posted something about the Tommy Robinson and about the voice of what's been going on with the grooming gang stuff on my Facebook, and another friend of mine jumped in because one of my friends from school is British, but his family background's Pakistani Muslim, but we've known each other since high school. And he asked me if is this your perspective. I was like, well, hang on a minute. What he's highlighting is systematic, it's evidential, the facts are there. I haven't stated any perspective beyond the fact that I'm not happy of any abuse. It doesn't matter if it's the grooming gangs involved there, whatever the BBC gets up to, whether it's Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, Jonathan King, Epstein. I don't want any of them. The difference we have is me, I will say, I don't want any of it. Others, like I said, you've got left and right, and they'll steer it towards their narratives too often. Now, he's the same as me on the sense of, he was agreeing that as if it was out of context, because if we talk about population-wise, the number of Muslims in the UK is minimal, but the number of offences, if you base it on the crimes per demographic, etc., is much, much higher from certain denominations, nations, immigrants, illegals, etc. So the point being is, this gets back to left and right. If you look on the left narrative, they'll go, oh, they're only one in whatever percentage it is. If you look on the right, they're 80 times more likely to commit those offences. Those are the sort of stats you're dealing with. You've got stats from two different directions, but often they're pushed to the extremes rather than just going, how many of them should legally be in this country and how many shouldn't? I think that's the starting point, is the simple question of who should be here and who shouldn't. And I'm not for let's just deport. Hang on, what about their crimes? They committed crimes. I don't think they need to serve crimes in the UK if they're illegal. I think we should actually do a deal with wherever they come from. I don't care if they have to spend it in a Kabul jail, a prison in Pakistan somewhere, or wherever. That's not my problem. They committed the crime in this country, in the UK, and should be serving their crime back in their own country, even if we have to pay for it. Let's be honest, it's not going to be a comfy chair. It's not going to be as much as it costs to keep them in the UK. It's cheaper to pay for us to put them in other places. Human rights, that'll be the next argument, which they don't seem to have a concern when they're abusing other people's. But that's why I just want to put it in context for the left and right. The left and right often have different dynamics. The simplicity of it is, we don't need them, they offer nothing, they're worth very little to the UK. That's it. In fact, they've proven they're worth nothing. They're criminals. Oh, Matt, you're anti-immigrant. Immigration's a different thing to illegals. Immigration's a different thing to crime. Immigration is a necessity globally. So you can't just cluster them together, and people keep doing this, and this is what is creating the issues, because people aren't having adult conversations. They're taking narrow narratives to argue with each other that is so far apart you'll never be able to meet in the middle. And you need to meet in the middle. If both people go away unhappy, you've probably got it right. If one's happy, you probably got it wrong. What's the next thing on the list? Oh, I was listening to FastJet. I think it was yesterday. I think his name's Tim. And he was complaining about somebody complaining from Spain. And I wasn't sure who he was talking about, but I've got a thought that he's probably talking about the watch guy. What's his called? Summit Thorpe. But I think he had a few problems in the UK. I think he had a few threats. So I think that's why he decided to call it a day, move to Spain. But you can't expect everybody to want to be in the UK for a start. See, there's a dynamic. It did trigger my thoughts a bit on this, a bit more, because I was looking at the bigger picture here. Because I think, when people say, oh, well, you've got no right, you don't live in the UK, hang on a minute. We've got people in the UK that are generational Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, I think, what's her name, Kemi Badnoch, or whatever her name is. I don't think that's her real name either. You can put that in the chats if you know what her name is. But she's Nigerian, I believe, and she was helping with Nigerian student visas and stuff, I believe. Their allegiance to the United Kingdom is extremely low. I live in Spain, but do you know what? I've got a Union flag. I've got a Scottish flag. I teach my kids about the history within the United Kingdom. I've got to admit, I don't see Charles as my king, but then again, I don't think I'm alone on that one. Hang on a second, I've got to shut the door. Don't you love it with teenage kids? They're lovely even the door open when they've got air conditioning running. You can tell I'm getting a bit grumpy and older. But the UK is still my homeland. And I get racism. Oh, delicate flower me. If I go to Scotland, yeah, I get called chocolate jock by some people. Because although I'm Scottish, I haven't spent a lot of time in Scotland. My parents were armed forces. My father did 22 years with the Ministry of Defence. So the irony is people saying I'm not Scottish, yet my father was busy serving the United Kingdom for most of my childhood. But the point being is I was brought up in an army environment where you have allegiance to the flag, you have allegiance to the crown, you have allegiance to the nation. And that sort of stuck with me as much as it can. And I've got to admit, my skin's not thick enough for Charles, but I did have a lot of time for his mother. I'm not even a pro-monarch. I just see that you've got to have something to follow in life, and this is why a lot of my stuff will accept religions, not from the fact that I'm religious, but in life you've got to have a compass, you've got to have morals, you've got to have integrity, you've got to have something that drives you, defines you, finds your place in the world. And the world we're in at the moment has lost a lot of that. That is to me the biggest problem in the Western societies. I was watching Callum. Callum used to be on the Lotus. He went to Afghanistan on a trip, on a tourism trip. He was in Kabul, and even when you're talking to the Taliban are talking about being true Afghanis. The point being is they're definitive. They have direction. They have the understanding of what it means for where they sit in life. What, Matt, you're pro-Afghan? No, don't confuse this stuff, because they'll get into another subject where the MOD brought in, 24,000 people. But my point being is, once you have definitive answers, you have structure, you can move forward. Doesn't mean the answers are always right, it means you have a structure to work from. And that's what we're missing at the minute, because I find a lot of the stuff that's this weird blend we got at the minute, where you got socialism, communism, pro whatever it is. I'm really confused on what LGBT want, because they keep changing and adding new things every other week. Because I look at society as a whole, and I can't honestly say I can recollect any issue that I know of anybody that was a gay person having any issues. I mean, in my call centre there's about 12 different people from different backgrounds, whether they're gay, lesbian, trans, whatever. But nobody cares. Me, the definitive call centre's there to make money. Can you make money? Yeah, then I don't care. And I think that's the problem. They're trying to make things out of making problems that aren't there, or the problems that they perceive through their own perceptions. I was listening to, sorry, I wasn't listening to it, I was actually reading, I think the book's called